A robot just broke Usain Bolt's world record. Not in a simulation, not in a controlled lab test with perfect conditions. On a real track, in front of thousands of spectators, in Beijing, a machine ran 100 meters in 9.39 seconds, shaving nearly 0.2 of a second off the fastest time a human being has ever recorded. If that sentence doesn't stop you in your tracks, it should, because for over a decade, Bolt's 958 has been treated almost like a law of physics, the ceiling of what a biological body can do. And now a machine casually strolled past it during what was essentially a robotics trade show with a running track attached. But here's the twist that most headlines are skipping over, and it's the reason this story is actually far stranger and far more important than a highlight reel of robots falling over. This wasn't an isolated stunt. It happened at the second edition of the World Humanoid Robot Games, held inside the National Speed Skating Oval, the same venue built for the 2022 Winter Olympics. And this year the event ballooned to more than 2,000 robots from 666 teams, representing 16 countries, a jump of 138% in team participation compared to just 1 year earlier. Think about that growth rate for a second. That's not the pace of a hobbyist competition. That's the pace of an industry racing towards something much bigger than sport. And the athletics were honestly the least interesting part of what happened there. Alongside the sprint record, another robot cleared 2.88 meters in the high jump, beating the human world record of 2.45 meters set by Cuba's Javier Sotomayor, a mark that has stood since 1993. Longer than most viewers of this video have been alive. Now, before you start picturing a future robot Olympics replacing the real one, it's worth pausing to ask an obvious but important question. Is this actually a fair comparison? And the honest answer, according to sports scientists and robotics researchers who've studied this event, is no, not even close. Human sprinters generate force purely through muscle, tendon elasticity, and biomechanics refined over a lifetime of training, all while balancing on 2 feet with zero external support. Many of these competition robots use specialized actuators, lightweight limb designs optimized purely for straight-line speed, and control systems that don't have to worry about things like injury risk, fatigue, or the years of physical development a human athlete needs just to reach the starting line. So when a robot beats Bolt's time, it's not proof that machines are simply better at running. It's proof that speed, when isolated as the only variable that matters, is a solvable engineering problem once you're not constrained by biology. And that distinction actually matters more than the record itself, because it reframes what these games are really testing. Now here's where the story gets genuinely fascinating, because while the sprint stole the headlines, the real signal of where this technology is heading came from a company that wasn't even trying to build a competition robot. A firm called Agibot walked into its very first humanoid robot games and immediately became the most decorated competitor there, taking home 46 medals total, 18 gold, 16 silver, and 12 bronze, enough to top both the gold medal table and the overall medal count on debut. For context, the second-place team, Tiancun, finished with 45 total medals, just 1 behind, while a name you may actually recognize, Unitree, one of China's most publicly known humanoid robot makers, finished a distant third with only 10 medals total. So how does a company with zero prior competition history suddenly dominate an event built specifically to showcase cutting-edge robotics? The answer is almost counterintuitive, and it's the most important detail in this entire story. Agibot didn't build special robots for the competition. The lineup they fielded, models called X2, G2, A3, and a dexterous robotic hand system called OmniHand, are robots that are already in mass production or already working real jobs in the real world, not machines engineered in secret to win medals and then shelved afterward. Picture that for a moment. Imagine an Olympic sprinter who wasn't training specifically for the Olympics, who was just really good at their actual day job and happened to also be faster than every specialized athlete in the building. That's essentially what happened here, and it's a massive signal about where the humanoid robotics industry is actually placing its bets, not on flashy one-off demonstrations, but on general-purpose machines that can perform well across wildly different tasks without being rebuilt for each one. Let's break down exactly how they pulled this off, because the details reveal a lot about what intelligent actually means in robotics right now. In the dexterous hand competition, arguably the hardest category to fake your way through, Agibot's OmniHand system reached the finals in all 8 events, an achievement in itself, and walked away with 7 gold medals, including tasks like precisely stacking small blocks, weighing out fine powder without spilling it, and picking up individual beans using a pair of tweezers. If you've never tried picking up something as small and awkward as a single bean with a tool instead of your fingers, understand that this requires an extraordinary level of tactile feedback, fine motor control, and real-time correction. The exact kind of dexterity that has historically been one of the hardest problems in all of robotics. Harder in many ways than getting a machine to walk or run. Meanwhile, on the athletic side, the X2 model took gold in the 100-meter obstacle race and added a silver and a bronze in the 400-meter obstacle event, all while competing in its standard, mass-produced configuration with no competition-specific hardware modifications. That robot runs on something Agibot calls the Agile Framework, short for Agibot Generative Intelligent Locomotion Engine, a system that combines real-time environmental perception with autonomous decision-making, allowing the robot to navigate irregular obstacles and uneven terrain without a human manually steering every step. Underneath that is something called simulation to reality transfer, or sim-to-real, a technique where a robot essentially learns and rehearses movement thousands of times inside a virtual environment before ever attempting it on physical legs, dramatically reducing the trial and error and the potential damage that would come from learning purely through real-world failure. And speaking of failure, let's talk about the Tai Chi gold medal for a second, because it tells a different story about intelligence entirely. Agibot's A3 model took first place, performing Tai Chi, a discipline built almost entirely around slow, controlled, deliberate balance, the polar opposite of sprinting. Winning gold in both an explosive obstacle race and a discipline defined by graceful, minimal movement using different robots from the same company's ecosystem suggests something more interesting than just fast robots. It suggests a company building a coherent underlying intelligence platform that can be tuned toward completely different physical skill sets, rather than one narrow trick performed exceptionally well. That theme continues into what might be the most practically important category of the entire competition, the scenario-based events, tasks designed to simulate actual jobs a robot might be asked to do in the real world. Agibot picked up 5 gold medals here, in categories including hotel services, library operations, and emergency response simulations, the kind of unglamorous, detail-heavy work that never trends on social media, but is exactly where humanoid robots would need to prove themselves to become commercially viable outside of a stadium. And this is where the story stops being about sport entirely. The G2 robot used in these scenario events isn't a prototype waiting for its big debut. It's already deployed on real factory floors, at facilities run by companies including Longcheer and SAIC, one of China's largest automakers. Its decision-making runs on a stack of proprietary systems, an embodied foundation model called Villa, a world model called GE, and a reinforcement learning system called RWRL. Technologies designed specifically to help a robot perceive its surroundings, plan multi-step actions, and execute complex real-world tasks without constant human oversight. Put simply, the point of this whole event, at least for a company like Agibot, was never really about winning medals. It was a very public stress test, a way of proving, in front of cameras, investors, and competitors, that robots already working real industrial jobs can also handle completely unfamiliar tasks and win without needing a specialized redesign every time the environment changes. But let's be fair to the chaos, because not every robot at these games had a triumphant story to tell. And honestly, this is the part that makes the event feel human, ironically. Alongside every record-breaking sprint, there were robots that stumbled, collided with obstacles, and in at least one widely shared moment, actually caught fire after crashing into a barrier during the 100-meter race. with maintenance crews rushing out with stretchers to carry fallen units off the track like injured athletes. It's a strange, almost comedic contrast, machines simultaneously smashing world records and bursting into flames within the same event. And it's a genuinely useful reminder that even the most advanced humanoid robotics on the planet are still deeply unreliable outside of narrow, controlled tasks. For every viral clip of superhuman speed, there's an equally viral clip of a robot face planting into a foam wall. And both clips are true simultaneously, which tells you exactly where this technology actually sits right now. Remarkable and isolated bursts, fragile in general. Now zoom out, because there's a much bigger story running underneath all of this, one that has almost nothing to do with sports and everything to do with global strategy. This event didn't happen in a vacuum. It opened the very same week Beijing hosted the World Robot Conference, where companies displayed roughly 3,000 robotics products, and China currently manufactures the majority of the world's humanoid robots. That's not an accident, it's policy. China's Robot Plus initiative and its broader AI plus manufacturing roadmap explicitly aim to double the country's manufacturing robot density by 2030, and the country's current 5-year plan specifically lists humanoid robotics as a priority sector for accelerated development. Analysts at Morgan Stanley project China's humanoid robot market could grow from roughly $2 billion in 2026 to $15 billion by 2030, with annual shipments potentially reaching 446,000 units, while China's own stated ambition reaches even higher, a target of 1 million humanoid robots shipped annually by 2030, and a goal of becoming the world's undisputed center of excellence for robotics by 2029. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Pacific, tensions are rising fast. Just last month, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission announced a ban on imports of new foreign-made humanoid robots, explicitly citing national security concerns aimed at Chinese manufacturers. And the Pentagon recently added Unitree, one of the very companies competing at these games, to a list of firms it considers to have ties to the Chinese military. Beijing, unsurprisingly, has pushed back hard against those accusations. So when you watch footage of hundreds of humanoid robots marching in perfect synchronized formation to open these games, you're not just watching a robotics demonstration, you're watching a very deliberate, very public display of industrial capability, aimed as much at global markets and rival governments as it is at spectators in the stadium seats. Which brings us back to that opening moment, a robot crossing the finish line faster than Usain Bolt. It's tempting to treat that as the headline, the shock value, the thing that gets clicks. But the real headline is quieter, and honestly more consequential. A mass-produced humanoid robot company entered its first-ever competition, dominated it using machines already working in factories and public buildings, and did it while a global race over who controls this technology is escalating in the background. The sprint was the spectacle, the medal table was the signal. And what happens next as these machines move from stadiums into hotels, libraries, warehouses, and eventually, potentially, our own homes, is the part of this story that's really just getting started.